Well, hello, and welcome to Caching in the Northwest. You know this is the official podcast of GeoWoodstock 18, right here in the great Pacific Northwest. We're going to talk each week about geocaches and geocachers from here and all around the globe. So while you're annoying the neighbors by testing all of your safety whistles, we'll be caching in the Northwest.
Got to get me a safety whistle.
Safety.
Anyway.
And then test it.
Yes.
Repeatedly.
It's Thursday night, so it must be time to bring in our surfing spider monkey. Some say he's as dangerous as a badger in a rain barrel. And others say he literally speaks in metaphors. All we know is he's called Land Monkey.
Well, aloha. If we're talking about surfing, right? We should.
Oh yeah,
use those
Hang 10, dude.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right.
That sounded so natural, didn't it?
You just oozed that whole genre, Chris. Well done.
Thank you.
All right. Good to be back here. It's Thursday night. Good to be here with my friends. Good to be here with all of you awesome people in the live audience. And good to be here with Rich, who's joining us for the first time on the podcast. Hey, Rich, welcome to the show.
Hey, glad to be here, guys. Never done a podcast before, so I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, we will destroy the entire experience for you. You'll never want to do another one after this. I guarantee that.
Looking forward to it.
All right. So we are going to talk a little bit about mountain surfing. I see folks in the chat are already going, mountain surfing? What's that? Well, you know what? You're going to find out. So you just
don't touch that dial.
Rich is going to explain it all to us. That's we're looking forward to it.
No pressure.
No pressure. That's right. Well, hey, speaking of pressure, this is the point where we make a quick reminder that we appreciate the support of our patrons who help to keep this podcast coming each and every week. And a thanks to Landsharks, our corporate Denali level sponsor. Hey, you know what?
Do tell.
Landsharks is moving to a new location. I think we've told that, but
we did mention it once, yeah.
But we will confirm they will be open on Monday, July 5th at the new location. The plan is to open Saturday again at the new location the following weekend. Follow their social media for details and, of course, coordinates.
Still in Esquimalt, right?
Sorry?
Still in Esquimalt?
Still in Esquimalt. Yeah, they're right down by the water. They're right down by a marina. That's beautiful location.
That's right. The Sharks love water.
The Sharks love to be near water. Absolutely. Yeah. And, of course, also our other Denali level sponsor. I couldn't remember what level we called the sponsors. Our other corporate Denali level sponsor, Gold Country. I didn't forget Gold Country. I just forgot what they're called, what their sponsorship level is called. All right. So yes, thank you, Gold Country, for your support. And in coming weeks, they're going to have some special messages for you folks as well. But for now, just a reminder to visit exploregoldcountry.com and start planning your adventure up to Gold Country, because you know what, here in BC, we're all counting down the clock to like June 15th, because that's the date they promised we can start to travel again.
Yay!
They promised me. All right, so
that includes the border.
Yeah, I'm making no promises about the international borders, but definitely at least within our own province. But hey, you know what, we're really excited to have Gold Country on board. We, of course, love having Landsharks on board. So it's just great to have such awesome sponsors. And, if you want to know more about supporting this show, you don't have to be a corporate Denali level sponsor and have me forget what you're called. You can just visit patreon.com or find that Patreon link on the cachingNW.com website and support us at whatever level works for you.
I'm sorry, it's just a website?
Yes. This week is special.
Oh, okay. I forgot something else. Yeah. Well, maybe later in the show. We'll see.
Okay. No worries. Hey, folks, if you want to join us in tonight's chat, use the hashtag FPV, and we'll explain what that is coming up. Use that in the chat, and our chat lackey's going to pull in all those comments, and we'll get your questions answered. And of course, you can always use the hashtag FATAS. That's for the after show to bring up anything. Well, before the after show.
How about that?
It's kind of right there in the name.
It's coincidental.
Yeah.
You could use Foxtrot Papa Victor, but it wouldn't work. So don't do that.
It would take you a really long time to type it out, too.
Yeah, just a little.
All right,
Who
well,
knows
enough.
the first person that does it.
Enough housekeeping out of the way. We'd like to welcome Rich. I'm so glad you're here. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about you? Where's home? You Northwest with the rest of us? What do you enjoy doing when you get outdoors and wherever home is for you?
Yeah, so I live in Mission, BC, so up in Canada. Work as a helicopter mechanic for a company in Langley. I guess you could kind of say that's kind of where my passion for drones came from. Helicopters were just kind of a little out of my budget. So drones were
drones, really.
I have to, sell my left kidney or something, in order to afford
You have to buy a fixer-upper.
There you go.
A slightly damaged one.
And then take myself in the sky with that thing. Yeah, I think I'll fly from the ground. But so hobbies kind of what I like to do is pretty much anything outdoors. But lately I've been getting into mountain biking and FPV drones. It's just exploring the backcountry. I moved to Mission, it's about a year and a half ago. And it's just, I love it there because it's literally just like the back country is like right behind me here. Get to check out some cool areas, fly my drones and get to show you guys, all the spectacular areas back there. So it's, I'm excited about it.
Very cool. Well, we've already got folks in the chat asking, what is mountain surfing? And so we're going to get to that in just a minute because I had never really heard the term before until I had met Rich, and we met on the trail, and he explained to me what he was doing, and was very kind to take the time to show a couple of us how it worked. And I kind of didn't want to keep geocaching. I wanted to watch what he was doing. That's how interesting I find this. But anyhow, but now that we're plugged in here, and we've certainly encouraged people to learn what this mountain surfing is. Rich, can you explain for us what it's all about?
Yeah, for sure. Kind of ran across this term as I was, investigating, getting into FPV drones. It's actually probably one of the main reasons I got into FPV drones. Is just like these, you go on YouTube like right now and you type in FPV drones, mountain surfing, like you get some just incredible, like spectacular views and some videos and people just ripping up and down the mountains, which kind of brought up about this term mountain surfing. So it's quite similar to like they call it surfing, surfing on the ocean, where you kind of go up the wave, you can kind of ride the wave and then you go back down. So it's what you do when you surf. So kind of similar with the drones. Like myself, I'll climb up the top of the mountain, and then once I'm at the top, I'll kind of surf. So I'll kind of like weave back and forth along the peak, and then obviously you got to come back. So once my battery dies or I get close to being done, I come on back down, and so that's kind of what mountain surfing is with drones. So it's cool.
All right, so you've hinted at this, but in order to mountain surf, you need a special type of drone, or can we just go down to the local hobby store and buy a cheap drone and be up and running?
Well, I guess technically you could, it's kind of, you could buy one of those DJI ones or any one that's commercially available. But my kind of opinion is, FPV drones are definitely the way to do it. And so FPV stands for first person view. So basically you wear these goggles on your face, and you're sometimes there's two screens or one screen, and it kind of displays what the drone's seeing. So when you're surfing these mountains with these goggles on, it's cool because it's basically like you're there. You know, like all you see is these two screens and what you're seeing. So you can't really see anything else. So you feel like you're there, flying on top of these mountains. And actually, when if we ever meet up again, Jay, it'd be cool just to I got another pair of goggles. I can show you basically what it's like because you can kind of piggyback off the signal. But yeah, as for
dude, I am totally in. We're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's it's really cool. But as far as practice goes, there's a lot of practice going on. Practicing emergencies, things that go wrong. Making sure that you're ready for basically anything. And then I also have like a GPS on board. This bigger drone that I have, and then so you just kind of got to practice awareness where you are, knowing when to come back. So it's just a lot of practice, and sometimes failure, but you learn the best from failures.
Yeah, you do. And that's the way it goes. And yeah, that's when you learn the most is when that didn't work the way I wanted it to. So
No.
now I know what not to do so I can learn what to do, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
are these just drones you're going at buying at Drones R Us, or are they custom made? You've got the goggles on over top there. Is this something that you're working or building yourself? And what price range are we looking at for this kind of hardware?
Yeah, so great question. Nowadays, there's kind of like two options. You can buy a pre-built FPV drone, where basically everything comes assembled. You basically just gotta link it up to your controller, and they call it bind and fly. It's it's an easier option. I would say it's kind of done some good things for the hobby. You basically, because this building yourself can be quite difficult. So the bigger, I call it the iFlight Shamir 7, is my bigger drone that I mountain surf with, and then I bought that one pre-built. It was actually cheaper to buy it from China pre-built than for me to spend all this time and putting it together, which it always blows my mind. How can they make things like that for so cheap? But so there's another drone. It's a freestyle drone, kind of like another drone that I fly quite a bit. And that one I built from scratch. So going through the process, you got to pick out each component. There's multiple different components on board. Kind of a lot to go through over a podcast, but it's there's lots of different components. YouTube's your friend. It's definitely like a love-hate relationship. You get one step forward, a couple steps back, but the end result is it's amazing. It's good. But the fun part is when you finally finish building your baby basically, and then you got to plug it in, and there's all these different small solder joints, and sometimes you're using a magnifying glass to try and solder these joints. Your hands got to be still, and then you got to plug this battery in. And there's a couple of videos on YouTube as well, just guys basically when you plug it in, it just blows up in smoke because they've basically soldered something wrong, and then their whole board's shot, and they got to kind of start from scratch. So luckily I haven't had that yet, but so if you're worried about that, just buy pre-built. It comes tested, comes pre-built. It's the way to go. But yeah, as far as price goes, it varies quite a bit. Like any hobby, you can buy the expensive stuff, the cheap stuff, the middle of the road stuff. But kind of for me, I'm pretty cheap. I'm Dutch, so I don't spend my money that often. But when I do come into a hobby, I got no problem spending a decent amount of money. Because I always kind of feel like you get the more quality stuff, you're gonna fly more, you're gonna use it more, and you're just gonna have an overall better enjoyment doing it. And so as far as price goes, each the pre-built I had, it was about $550 Canadian. And then my other ones I built from scratch, they're both, I think the one was like 500 and then the dollar changed and the other one was like $600. So thank you, USD dollars. But yeah, but then, you got to strap on the GoPro, the battery. So some of these drones that I'm flying, they're about like $1,000 that you're flying around. And but then you got goggles, controller, batteries, other odds and ends. So I got about 5 drones plus some other like really, really small ones. So I got about just over $5,000 into this hobby, Canadian, of course. But but again, like I said, you can go cheaper. But the route I took with all the drones I have, it's kind of like a one of those hobbies. Once you start buying drones, you just end up buying more, and it can be bad.
Well,
Yeah,
I was going to say, Rich, I would think that this is one of those things where if you go cheap, you're going to get what you pay for. And when we start, we're going to show some video in a little bit of some of Rich's videos. And when you see what he does with this thing, you're going to think, yeah, I probably don't want to use the cheap one to do this.
No, definitely not. It's you want the components, the best of the best, so that when you're flying out there, the chances of it falling out of the sky randomly are slim. Not impossible, but slim.
There you go. So we had a couple of questions. GSM times 2 has asked about the range, and we're going to get to that. So I think we've got that a little later in the show. So we'll talk to that in a few moments. Komikino was asking whether or not you use the DJI's new FPV drone, but you mentioned that, but it sounds like that's not one of the ones that you're using.
No, so that recently came out. I think it was like a good 4 months ago, I think, somewhere around there. So I personally don't use that drone. It'd be, if I had lots of money, I'd go out and buy it right now. But I'm kind of stuck with the gear I have. There is like other DJI products, like maybe he knows about the air unit. You can buy DJI air units that kind of coexist with the drones that I have. Again, I don't have that system because I'm running the old analog system. But as technology progresses, I could see myself, one day going to the DJI FPV drones or the systems anyways.
Okay. Hey, Rich, before I get to the next question, I think some of your fan club might have showed up because we've got a comment here from Grant.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, we're just going to show it there. Rich is an FPV stud and local legend. So there you go.
Yeah, he was one of the first guys that I did a FPV shoot with. So shout out to him. Go check him out. He's starting up a YouTube channel as well. But it's he kind of pulled me out and like, hey man, we need to do this. So he's the guy that kind of started it all for me.
Awesome. All right. Well, when you and I first met, my friends and I were, as we've mentioned earlier in the show, my friends and I were watching you fly, and we were gobsmacked at the speed that the drone was moving at. And you said that's the Chimera 7 that you were using, right? Is that the?
Yes.
We were watching. Okay. And so, as has already been asked, how fast do these things actually go, and what's the range that you can fly them?
Yeah, no, okay, yeah, nice little video there. That's cool. Yeah, I remember that as well. It's always fun, like running up to people when you're out and about, because I can only imagine, they're thinking, you got this guy, for instance, in this video you're watching right now, this guy wearing his goggles, just like there's nothing around except this random guy just standing in the middle of nowhere.
Standing on an FSR with a set of goggles on, yeah.
Yeah, just like, what is he doing? Like, but hopefully as time goes on, it gets more and more acknowledged and accepted. But yeah, as far as like the drone speeds and stuff and battery life and distance, it kind of varies between the two types of drones I have. So the video that you're watching right now, obviously, like I said, mentioned before, it's the iFlight Shamir 7. You can, again, you can push something quite hard, but then, it's like a car, right? You don't want to like beat on it all the time, right? Otherwise, the prone to failure is higher. So with this drone here, I usually cruise about 100 kilometers an hour.
Cow.
So like this shot right here, the speed that it's going, it's probably about like 70K, 60K as I'm climbing. But at cruising speed, it's about 100 clicks. And then when you're going down the mountain, it gets a little faster. But it's like, it's a bigger airframe. So 100 kilometers to like 110 is kind of like, I would say, the peak of like where you would go with this setup, because it's, I got multiple batteries on board, so it's quite heavy. But as far as like I was saying, battery life and the speed, the time, how long it lasts for, it's anywhere from like 10 to 15 minutes. Kind of my current setup. I got 2 batteries. Again, I won't bore the audience with all these different batteries, but there's different batteries, different sizes. So with my current setup on this drone, I can get about 10 to 15 minutes, again, depending if I'm flying fast or slow. It kind of varies. And then again, I've been actually recently making my own battery packs. So some of the guys in the drone community will know about like lithium ion packs. Those are quite popular for longer range. Just more like energy dense, and you can go farther. So it's a lot to learn. But then the racing drone, that one's a little more interesting. It's hence the name racing. It's basically meant for racing. I can get that thing up to about 120 clicks an hour. So pretty fast little device. You think ripping around. And then if you got some wind going with you, it's, you could go faster. Yeah. It's kind of scary actually to think this missile basically flying around. You don't really want to be like flying near people. I know FPV can get a bad rap, just as like, flying these fast paced drones, just like, near people or buildings. It can actually be quite dangerous. So you got to kind of be careful. So, when I'm out flying in the mountains here, there's no one around. I can't hurt anybody, and if I end up hitting an animal or something, like, I'm sorry. Like it's nothing I could do,
We call that hunting, but yeah.
But yeah, hit and process them right there on the scene.
Exactly.
They're filleted. Look at that.
Look at that.
Now, have you found Bigfoot yet?
He's me and him. I found him. I don't really want to like expose him, so I got that footage out. We're working with each other.
Yeah.
So
I think he's already exposed. It's not like he's wearing anything.
Nice.
Yeah, batteries are always that trade-off, isn't it? I mean, you want more batteries, so you have more life, but then you add more weight, the more battery you add. So
right.
Yeah.
Totally. It's a balance for sure.
Yeah.
I want to just point out, so if you are listening to the audio version of the podcast, first of all, thanks for downloading it, and we're glad that you're listening in. But we're going to tell you that we're going to share the links to Rich's YouTube channel, and or you can go and watch the YouTube version of this. And right now, while we're talking to Rich, we're also playing one of his mountain surfing videos, and I'm having a hard time paying attention to you, Rich, because it is so distracting watching you fly this FPV drone over the mountains outside of Mission. It looks like these are outside of Mission here, to the north of Mission.
Yeah, so if you know Chehalis Lake, it's actually just to the west there. You as you travel up Chehalis Lake, there's a kind of like a logging road to the west, I believe it is, kind of west northwest. There's that landslide there. You can't go there because it's obviously a landslide, but you go to the west, and there's a big corridor of just like massive mountains. And yeah, me and a buddy, we went exploring and found some pretty cool mountains.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. We've had some other great questions come in. GSM times 2 would like to know, what is the most expensive drone you've crashed?
Believe it or not, like, well, I've crashed, obviously. I've crashed lots of times. But these drones, they're pretty like indestructible. Like they're all carbon fiber frame. You know, these racing drones, they got like titanium front bar on them. So like, you know, I've hit trees doing 80 clicks an hour. Actually, if you go to my YouTube channel, one of the first videos I actually posted in the first flight, I ended up crashing into a tree. My first flight, I was like, this is awesome. The thing's probably wrecked, you know. And sure enough, I literally just replaced the battery because the leads had broken off, changed the props, and I was good to go. Like, wow. So, yeah, broken props and motors. So like, but it's all replaceable, right? So as far as like some of these DJI drones where you crash, right, and then, you know, then you basically end up throwing the whole thing out, kind of thing, right? Whereas like these FPV drones, you can really rebuild them, you know. So it's
very cool. IHAM was curious.
Land Monkey, I turned off the video so you can focus.
So I can focus.
That's right.
Yeah. Pay attention to my voice.
That's right. I'm sorry, Rich. IHAM was curious if you happen to know what frequencies the control signals use.
Yeah, so I'm running Crossfire. If maybe Dan Camp knows that brand of radio link, but I'm pretty sure it's on like a 915 megahertz or 915 hertz, and then that's between, so like the controller between the drone, and then obviously there's another frequency that's broadcasting my video feed, and that's a 5.8 gigahertz video feed.
Okay.
So
well, I think one thing he might be hinting at that he didn't come out and say there, he and I are both ham radio operators, and if I'm not mistaken, there are some ham radio frequencies that are used for FPV flying that give you a little more power ratings than the off-the-shelf thing. And I assume that's true in Canada as well as the US, but I don't know if you've ever gone down that road at all, or.
I actually thought about getting my AM radio license, just to kind of be more up to code and just like as far as licensing is going, because some of these radio frequencies you actually need a license to broadcast on or to use them. But like with my small hobby, like I haven't really deviated from the frequencies that I've talked about.
Sure.
But yeah, you can get bigger frequencies, you know, more power, you can go farther. But then you just need more gear, and more gear costs more money, which, like I say, it's an expensive hobby. So try to keep the cost to a minimum.
Yes, and for us married guys, we always have to buy gear that meets with the spousal acceptance factor.
Rich, we had another question from GSM times 2, and it's a great one. Can you lose radio contact when you're crossing over the mountains?
Yes, you can. So this is something you kind of got to be more aware of. If you go behind a big granite mountain, or, you know, even like trees, the radio link between the controller and the drone is a lot more rugged. But the link between basically the goggles and the drone, it's a little more fragile. So I'm not boosting on big power settings, so you can lose it. Thankfully, some of my drones have GPSs on them, so if you do lose, it'll fail safe, and then the GPS will take over and basically fly. You know, you can program the GPS to do all sorts of things once it takes over. But I try and not have that happen, because, you know, again, it's just a situational awareness, just knowing where you are and knowing where you can and cannot fly before you go flying, so that you don't have to rely on the GPS.
Right. And related to that, Cliff and Gary both had questions that we're going to get to a little bit later in the conversation with Rich, which is, sorry, not Cliff, Dan and Gary. Gary was wondering how many drones you've left in the mountains, and Dan was asking what's the longest hike you've had to retrieve a down drone. But we're going to talk about that a little bit later, because I think you had some
I got a story for that for you guys. So
Cliff was asking, how much noise did the drones make? I don't think we've covered that anywhere in the notes.
No, and I didn't have the audio on for that video clip because in the beginning you hear the drone motor start up.
Yes.
And it really is quite loud.
Yeah, no, it's so like that drone actually that we showed the video of, it's the quieter one of the few that I have. Bigger blades, so it's actually spins a little slower. I have these racing drones. They're like a really high pitched noise. Like you'll hear it coming, kind of thing. There's no like, not knowing where it is. You'll know, like it's quite loud.
Very cool. Grant wanted to know if you can go and fly your drone anywhere in the world. Where would you like to do that?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Mission BC.
I'm already here.
Yeah.
Probably some. What was it now? I was talking to a guy. I can't remember now. It was like, anyways, anywhere where there's big mountains. I'm talking like 10,000 footers. Like bigger the better. I want to surf those things. So
go check out the Rockies maybe next.
Yeah. No, exactly.
There you go.
And I have a little drone, personal drone, and you can set the return height. So if it loses signal, it's going to go to this height. And I'm thinking, around here, I set it to like 120 feet. That should clear most trees, come back home and land. And I'm thinking, when you're in the mountains, how high do you set the return? So you clear everything so it can come back home.
Well, it's honestly, that's a dangerous feature on the GPS because, like you say, you fly X amount high and over, and then you go down, or, you really got to be careful and think about how your GPS is programmed, because if you hit the return to home button, you may just plow right into a tree or a mountain. So always check your gear before you go flying. Make sure you know the settings.
Yeah, well, that kind of follows into the question that we've seen some footage of like following bikes and following people on trails and through trees and under branches and around rocks and all that stuff. And so, two-part, does it have some kind of an auto follow setting where you can just say, "Hey, follow me," and away I go? And what you just alluded to, does the drone have any kind of collision avoidance? Maybe not the consumer level, but the big ones have some kind of sonar or something like that.
Yeah, so I get this question actually a bit when I'm out on the trails. People, their mountain bikers come up to me and like, "Hey man, cool drones." Like, talking about the whole, like, I have a drone like that and it does the same thing. I'm like, I'm probably pretty sure you don't. Like, it's it's a lot different than your standard DJI, auto feature. It's as far as like having a drone that can, be able to handle the deciphering of the trees and like where to go and follow. It's like I think the drones are going to get there eventually. Like as far as like the technology, it's always coming out better and better, right? Like everything. But as far as like the drones I have, it's pretty much just coming down to like my reaction time, just like how fast I can react through trees, and obviously it helps if you. As far as for mountain biking goes, like I walk the trail, okay, hey, we're going to, plan some shots, but as far as auto follow or collision avoidance, there's nothing on these drones. So you just got to be a good pilot.
Wow. You got to take a lot into factor there of, the delay of the control signal and the video signal. So you're not, doing this in real time like you're driving a car. There's
well, you're not at the speed you would drive a car on the highway. So yeah.
Not as much as say the Mars rover, but you get the idea. Somewhere in between.
Yeah. Well, it's honestly it's pretty quick. Like it's within milliseconds. Like it's faster than you think. So you honestly probably wouldn't notice the delay. So that does help, but yeah, no, it's one day maybe. Yeah.
I want to kind of switch gears and talk about the cameras, but first, Steven wants to know if you're hiring a behind the scenes videographer.
Yes. If he's willing to work for free, or I can take him out for dinner once in a while. You're hired.
That's the same hiring policy we use for the podcast. Yeah. If you work for free, we'll hire you.
Yeah. I think we owe the cat lackey a few dinners then.
We do offer the $1 million guarantee, though. If you give us $1 million, we guarantee to talk about anything you want.
Oh, sign me up. Yeah.
Hey, our first one. So the cameras on these, at least the ones we've looked at here, are amazing. Are they? I think you mentioned GoPros and such. Are they standard cameras that you could buy off the shelf, or are they custom for the drone? I know you've got to work weight in there. You've got to work battery life in there. There's a lot of aspects of this. So what are you using for cameras?
Yeah. So for the most part, like, you can put any camera on these things. You literally just gotta like find a way to attach it. Because most cameras that you use to record like the 4K footage, it's a separate unit. It's like you just gotta attach it usually with 3D printed parts or something. But yeah, I use GoPros. And I've had pretty good success with that. Like all the videos that you see on my YouTube channel, they're all done with a GoPro. You just gotta like help pick the right settings, and the frame rate and the shutter speeds, and like it's kind of funny as I get into this hobby. It's like, oh, now I need to almost be an expert in cameras, or I almost need to be an expert in like radio signals. It's just to give the viewers like the best experience, right? Because nowadays it's like everyone's got drones, so like now you got to have like these amazing quality video footage, otherwise people aren't clicking on your stuff, right? So
it's always a game of one-upmanship. Yeah.
Oh, it is.
So you're talking about putting a GoPro and attaching the GoPro and making sure all the settings are right, and that's how you're capturing that amazing cinematic footage. Is that the same image that you're seeing while it's being like in the goggles while you're flying it?
Yeah, so this is actually another huge kind of like misunderstanding. When people don't know much about these kind of drones, everyone thinks like you say, the YouTube video is what I'm seeing, and it's honestly it's not the case at all. So there's the drone itself has its own camera that's wired in, so it's just part of the drone, and basically the drone sends a signal to my goggles, and my goggles pick it up, and my goggles they display in 720p, 1080p. So it's not terrible, but kind of like what I was alluding to, or what the other guy had mentioned, as far as like interrupting the signal, it can get quite bad. Like I say, if trees are in the way, or if something's blocking it, I always kind of refer it to for the people like TV, you have the old bunny ears on top when you're trying to tune the TV. It's like way back in the day, like basically when I was a child, and you get these lines all over the screen, and you're like, is it better? And dad's yelling at you, like, turn it, move it this way. And you're like, I'm trying,
It's the door frame while you.
Yeah, exactly. So
back in the days when you were the remote.
Exactly.
Change the channel for me.
So yeah, it can be really bad, and especially when I'm doing these mountain bike trails. Obviously there's a lot of trees in the way. So as I'm getting farther and farther away, you want to try and keep the seamless shot going. So you just push it until you basically can't see nothing. I wish I had some feed that I could show you guys, but it can get quite bad. And some people they'll look at it and they're like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, this is bad. This is garbage. Like, but it's just part of the FPV community. Now, kind of how I mentioned earlier, DJI has their own system that's recently come out in the last, I think, 2 and a bit years, and it's running digital. So it's actually quite a bit better. They managed to get HD footage to your goggles, so you can see actually a lot more of the, trees and foliage and things that may get in your way. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited to see what the future holds, though. It's going to be fun.
So you, Land Monkey, you mentioned earlier, we've got a couple of questions kind of related. Wet Coaster says, how many drones have you left in the mountains? And IHAM says, what's the longest you've had to hike to retrieve a down drone? And it's kind of related to the question we had here about, if you fly a drone miles away over the mountain, you talked about you can lose radio reception over the ridge. We talked about, collision avoidance stuff. How do you get it to come back to you? What if you're too far away or over the ridge?
Yeah, so there, like I mentioned before, you have the GPS. But this is a good question because when you've spent the 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes getting to where you're going, it's quite nerve-wracking. It's quite the rush for myself, anyways. But then once you're out there, you want to explore, you want to check things out. You want to, you see a cool line you want to take, and this, the viewers will love this, and so you kind of just push the limits. But as far as coming back to you, it's you can program all sorts of different things into your goggle feed. So the goggles, along with displaying the video footage, they also display all sorts of information. You got battery life. If you have a GPS on board, it'll display heading. It can display, it can basically just give you enough information to be like, hey, okay, I need to come back now.
Distance from launch and stuff.
Exactly. So, and it's, so there's a lot of information they can give you. But again, so when you fly out there, it's always important to know where you are, right? Because, you're having all this good time, fun, it's like, someone else driving and you're just kind of watching along for the ride, enjoying the scenery, right? And then you're like, okay, how do I get here? And you don't know how you got here, but you just you're just enjoying the view. So I kind of get that sometimes. So then when you turn the drone back around, you're like, you're 4 kilometers or 5 kilometers away, and you're just like, obviously you can't see that far. You can't see where you are, in a sense. So there's the GPS has a heading indicator. So you can use that to get back. And then there's also, like I kind of mentioned before, if you really get lost, you have a switch, the GPS, basically it'll just bring you back home. But it's one of those things, you don't really want to rely on a GPS. You want to have situational awareness, like, okay, hey, I went up this ridge, I better come back down this ridge, I'm by a open field, it just takes practice.
Yeah, so you mentioned pushing the limits. What is the longest you've had to hike to retrieve one? Has one ever not made it all the way back to you?
I have, all my drones have come back to me.
Okay.
Knock on wood, one of these days, I'm just accepting the fact it's not going to come back. It's just part of the hobby. Yeah. I've had to hike for a buddy's drone. Actually, if you go to my YouTube channel, there's my last video that I posted kind of just talks about us losing 2 drones. We ended up hiking for a couple hours, trying to find these things. And I would say we got lucky. Lucky is hiking for a couple hours. Unlucky is, going all day, not finding it, coming back the next day and searching all again. It can be brutal, but thankfully I haven't had to do those kind of hikes yet.
Not yet, anyways.
Not yet.
Let's see.
You want to ask some of the questions?
If I can find them. Here we go. So Bryling wants to know, does your drone software know about no-fly zones, such as airports and that? Now, where you're flying, you probably don't have a lot of no-fly zones.
Yeah, so, it's definitely a serious thing you need to be aware of when flying drones, because you could be flying in the way of a helicopter or a plane. So I do take it quite seriously. There is no fly zones. The drones that I have, they're not programmed to like stop all of a sudden, like some of these DJI ones where like you get to a zone and it just stops, like it won't let you go in there. But I am aware of the zones, but like I say, a lot of the flying that I'm doing it's like nobody's there. And being in the helicopter industry too, like I kind of know, if a helicopter is going to be flying over this area, he's not going to be where I am, so to speak. So I try and stay clear of everything so that just is never an issue.
Well, and I think a lot of those kind of protocols and awareness is what's emphasized in getting your drone license in Canada. So,
yeah, there's a lot of rules. The biggest ones is like flying near people, near buildings, near airports. Like you say, it's all listed in the drone license when you get it.
Yeah,
you have to learn about it.
And people around this area will overreact. If you have a drone up at 200 feet flying overhead, you're spying on me. This is the same view you get from Google Earth. I can't see any more detail.
Especially not these FPV drones. Like
right.
If you talk about the video quality I'm getting, I'm not seeing who you are. Like,
right.
I know there's a human down there, and I'll stay away from you. But as far as like, seeing what's on your phone or something, like I don't have that capabilities. I'm sorry.
Not only that, it's gone like this, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, GSM times 2 wants to know. Well, that's true. Follow me at 100 kph is beyond what most mountain bikers can do.
Yeah.
But he says, will the drone work up to elevations of 10,000 feet or, 1,000,000 meters, whatever that conversion is?
That would be like 3,000 meters. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
3 kilometers.
10,000 feet. Yeah. So if you have the right equipment on your drone, you will be able to. But the problem you have, like, you're gonna need some massive batteries. You're gonna need some crazy ground stations. Like, the technology is there, but I don't know. For me, it's like something I probably wouldn't be entertained to, because you'd be sitting there for like half an hour, in a chair, just trying to get up the hill, and then a half hour sitting in this chair getting back down. Yeah. So yeah, they do have the technology's there. I don't know too much about the long distance stuff, but I know it's capable. It's capable.
What if you got one of your helicopter clients to take the drone up and throw it out the window at 2,000 meters, and you're already there? Started in midair and free fall.
And then we go to the part we already asked about getting it back. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, the possibilities are there. Just kind of a willing customer or a paying customer.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Oh, let's see. There's one more from GSM times 2. It says, are they using drones in search and rescue and other non-YouTube missions?
Yeah, so I'm not too up on it, but the drones are coming out. They have like all sorts of for like geo mapping and stuff. Like, so they'll map the survey areas. So I can only imagine they have like thermal cameras on these things. They have all sorts of these crazy cameras that a lot of these helicopters are using as well. So their drones are definitely taking some of the helicopter market as far as that kind of aspect.
Yeah, well, we know from having North Shore Rescue on the show previously that they are actually using a more commercial style drone that they've acquired for rescue and recovery operations as well.
No, it's like you say, drones, they're here to stay, and I think it's only going to get bigger and bigger for what they can use them for.
Yeah, I've seen them with thermal cameras, with LiDARs, all sorts of different imaging technologies.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Wet Coaster asks, do you wear something noticeable so you can drive the drone back to where you are? I'll answer that. If you get out, even a few hundred feet, you really can't see yourself in the drone camera anymore. So it doesn't matter what you're wearing. So you've just got to know, where you are around you, choose something, large and visible, and say, okay, that's what I'm going to focus on to come back. Because, I've flown mine out over the water, and you get to a point of like, wait, which way do I go to get back?
Oh, totally. It's yeah, like I said before, you really got to know when you're flying out where you are, you know, so that you can come back confidently, you know, and land the thing before the battery dies, you know. Worst case scenario.
Rich, did you want to? I think you said you had a couple of them there. Did you want to show us the hardware? And we can
for sure.
Our live listeners or live viewers.
Yeah. So this one, let me see right here. So this one here is the racing drone. So this is what I mentioned. You have the GoPro camera on front. It's a separate unit, and then there's a camera down here. You can see this is the camera that I see out of. So it's, you know, it's quite small, right? So the quality is not the best as this. But then yeah, you got your battery pack back here. You got antennas. You got an antenna right here.
Okay.
So this antenna here is basically talking to the controller. This antenna here is one that talks to the goggles, and then obviously, you got your 4 motors. And then if you can see, let's see here, you can see all this stuff down here jammed, packed in there. A bunch of wires and whatnot. This is like where you got the brains basically of the helicopter, the drone. I got helicopters on the mind. Yeah, so it's quite. So yeah, this is the racing one. This is the one I was saying you could go about 120 kilometers an hour. I got one more here too. Sorry, go ahead.
For our audio listeners, that's a really quite stripped down drone. I mean, there's no pretty case on it. You know, when you can see the wires and see the circuit board, you're trying to save every gram of weight that you can.
So yeah, you can see this the carbon fiber frame here. So these arms, like they're really tough. I've crashed this thing multiple times and haven't broken anything yet. So, you know, we're good.
Is that the one with the titanium cage on the front?
Yeah. So let's just see here. You can see it.
Oh yeah.
They say it's titanium. It's probably titanium coated. You know, the advertisement. You know, they get you.
But it's strong enough, right?
Yeah. So it's yes.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say with the cameras. Now, one of the things with the DJI, the one that I have, the DJI Mavic, it's got like all kinds of image stabilization on the gimbal and things like that. Now, you're mounting a GoPro onto this thing. Like you're just going to be dependent on any kind of image stabilization the GoPro has, right? Is that
correct? So this is a Hero 7 Black. It's the first year they came out with the Hypersmooth. So it does a pretty good job of like, you know, because the drone's going like this and the GoPro basically sucks that up and kind of smooths it out. There is like external programs. Maybe some of the viewers have heard of Real Steady, where you basically, it's just an external program. You can put the your footage into and it'll make it look buttery smooth. Some call it cheating, but it's what it is. It's what the industry is. But I can show you guys this other one too. This is the Shamira 7. So this is it's a little bigger. This is where I got basically the 2 battery packs on board, hook them up together. And then this is where obviously the GoPro will go. And you got the little itty bitty camera right there. And just kind of for size comparison, let's just see here if I can hold both of them at the same time and put them in view.
Oh, wow.
You can kind of see. So this is the 7-inch one. So it's basically measuring, they call it a 7-inch by the blade diameter, the props. And then this is a 5-inch. So this is more like like I say, like a mountain surfing one. This is the one I always mountain surf with.
Right. So again, for those who are listening to the audio, first of all, go look at the YouTube channel for this episode and check this out because this is amazing. Yeah. But when you say 7-inch, like if you're just listening to the audio, you think, oh, 7-inch, that's pretty small. That's, as you said, as Rich said, that's just the diameter on the rotors themselves. Like this unit, if you were to say how far across that is, that's probably 2 feet across.
I could measure it, but I would say from corner to corner, yeah, or from blade tip to blade tip. Yeah, it's an easy, 2 feet. It's quite similar. I guess you could say the footprint to like the DJI Phantoms, I think.
Right, the larger DJI ones.
The,
Right.
the larger DJI ones. Yeah, and then you might as well show the goggles too while we're at it, because this is the one that gets all the views. So these are the goggles here that I end up wearing, and then you can kind of see there's two basically little screens,
Okay.
one there and one there, and then So I wear these things, goggles on. People look at me like, "What is this guy wearing on his face?" Don't worry, it's perfectly normal. In the FPV community, it is. Okay.
There you go. And is the camera you see, is it gimbal controlled? If you pan and tilt your head, does the camera itself follow your head?
My drones aren't. So basically, this camera here is fixed. So if I want to see behind me, I literally have to turn around to see behind me. So if this camera isn't looking at you, I can't see you, basically. It's like those stickers you see on the backs of semi-truck, right? Like,
if you can't see my mirrors,
I can't see you. So,
right.
Yeah. So no gimbal action, but there is drones that actually have, so you can hook it up basically to your goggles, where you turn your goggles, and then it actually will move the camera on board. So it's a pretty cool feature, but something I haven't really explored that much.
I think I've seen that on RC planes, but other people's, not mine.
Very cool. So I think we've gotten through most of the questions. We've definitely got through the questions we had prepared for you, Rich, and we've learned a ton. This has been really cool. Before we start moving towards any other part of the show here, though, let's make sure we've got an opportunity for you to share with people how they can follow you on YouTube or any other social media. So where should people go to find you?
Yeah, so I basically post mostly to Instagram and YouTube. I do post things on Facebook, but most of the content goes towards YouTube, and the YouTube channel is basically just Richie Rich. But if you type that in, this is that other guy, Richie Rich. There's that movie about him. I can't remember. He always comes up first. So you got to type in Richie Rich space FPV, and then I'll come up on YouTube. And then Instagram, it's basically just Richie period Rich period FPV. And if you go onto my YouTube page, I have an Instagram link there. If you go onto my Instagram page, I have a YouTube link there. So either one will get you to where I post videos. So
cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, now that you've been on this podcast, maybe you'll rise above the other Richie Rich in the search results.
Yeah, right. let's make that happen.
You never know; it could happen.
Hashtag rise above.
It says the drone pilot.
Rise above and then return to home.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been awesome. And next week we'll have another awesome episode. We're going to have Marcy from Gold Country joining us to let you know how to plan for your getaway to the interior of BC. Maybe to Mission. Who knows? Those travel restrictions, I hear they're lifting soon. And I understand people are itching for adventure.
We are.
Definitely. Well, Rich, thank you for joining us. And folks, we hope you enjoyed listening to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Land Monkey, what are we going to talk about next?
You know what? We want to take a moment to thank Landsharks and Gold Country Geotourism, our corporate Denali level sponsors. Landsharks.ca is the outdoor adventure and geocaching store. Check them out online. They're shipping orders daily. And for amazing geocaching adventures, well, check out exploregoldcountry.com. And of course, we want to thank all of our faithful Denali level supporters, Landsharks, Gold Country Geo Tour, Team Squirrel, Groovy Owl, and Cashly. And folks, as always, if you want to know more about supporting this show, click that Patreon link on the CachingNW.com website.
There it is. I missed that earlier. Hey, you know what? Miltech did just that.
And B. Pendragon.
And 3 hams in a rows.
LG 9000.
Dora Moore.
Al Robrick.
The Geo Nav Pros.
Fairwood West.
Broncos fan for life.
Ari 54321.
Wet Coaster.
UDAC.
Kennel Barb.
Katie Quest.
Keats 94.
Peach of Washington.
GSM times 2.
CRS 98.
Kev MacD.
Hacker Duck.
Subway Arc.
Seebeck Tribe,
Sprouter,
Log Work,
Camp Clan,
Genice,
Mnerv,
Donners,
Limax,
The Geo Travelers,
and Greenwords.
T-Sayer,
Boomer 365,
Just finding our way.
Tick Magnet,
Trexer 0,
Wino Seattle,
Sega Hove,
Kid Vegas 19,
MC, 3 Cats,
Utox 2 Rocks.
On a boot.
and Antaeus.
Oh, thank you to all those patrons. And Rich, thank you once again for joining us. One last time, best place to contact you is...
Let's do Instagram. It's the best
Okay.
place.
Richie.rich.fpv, if I remembered it correctly.
That is correct.
Hey, there you go. Check us out.
Ooh.
And if you want more interesting things, check out Land Monkey. And check out, let's see, he's over there. He's over there.
He's over there.
Yeah.
He's over there.
I was gonna say Chris of the Northwest. And you can find links to social media, all kind of stuff at cachingNW.com/hosts. And I'm there too.
Are you really? And now,
On the
folks, it's
homepage.
time for this little segment we call At Last. Listeners ask some things. You know, you ask some things, and we answer. So, if you'd like to ask some things, call into 253-693-TFTC or email your questions to feedback@cachingNW.com. Now, this is for everyone. This is an all skate, if you want to refer to that way. In the morning, how many cups of coffee, tea, your beverage of choice do you have to get started?
2.
2? Land Monkey?
2 coffees, and then I moved to tea.
I'm a simple guy. 1 big glass of water.
Wow.
There you go.
Look at this healthy guy.
Too good.
Nice.
Chris,
Well, I'm
I was-
not healthy. I tend to do soda, but I only do 1 soda, and that's at 9:00. So
Wow.
I've
Very
already
regular.
started. So I'm trying to get rid of it. There you go. And nobody else wants to chime in. That's unusual.
There you
come
go.
on now.
Pete's.
Sometimes I'd have 6 cup of coffees. That's when I was at MEC. Yeah. I used to drink hard in the morning. Brylan has a travel mug.
I think you're confusing some things, Chris.
No, that's with a 16-ounce container, and then another if you need it. I don't think it's a 16-ounce container. I think it's like a 64-ounce container. Donners has just 1 cup of caffeine-free tea.
Good for her.
Nice. Well, folks, thank you for taking time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Don't forget that you can be part of the show. Call into 253-693-TFTC and leave us a comment, ask a question, or help us not to fall down the side of a mountain any time of the day or night. And of course, you can email us at feedback@cachingnw.com. Your support helps keep the quality shows coming. If you like the show, click the Patreon link on the cachingnw.com website and subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and more. Give us a thumbs up or a review. The show's produced by Chris Umfenauer, Jim Paulwitz, and Jay Kennedy. It's licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, copyright 2021 by Chris Umfenauer. And folks, I ask you to stay tuned for
The After Show.
Whoa.
the after show.
It's intimidating.
We did it.
We made it through.
Rich, you made it. You survived.
It wasn't too bad.
Wasn't too bad, was it? I mean, you get talking about things you love. That seems pretty easy.
It is. That's 100% true.
Yeah. Now I got to get out my drone and start flying it more.
There you go.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
So the first FTAS we have is from GSM times 2. It says, I just watched hockey practice with FPV drone video. Totally
Heck yeah,
cool.
you did.
It says, how long did it take to convince the players to let you fly between their legs?
Well, it's there's just a bunch of boys, right? And they anything drones, and the coach actually heard, or the coach told the kids that a guy was coming to film them, and they were pumped. So it was pretty easy. They weren't scared at all, so it was awesome. to have some fun shots with them.
Nice. Let's see. Starcacher asked, he's stating he's currently returning home from Toledo, Ohio from Pensacola, Florida, where my brother and I put my mother's childhood home on the market. Oh,
wow.
That must be emotional. I'm watching from a hotel room in Pulaski, Tennessee.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, travel safe, Starcacher.
Yeah,
Well, he's traveling with his brother Bob, aka Crazy Bob.
That doesn't sound safe.
Yeah. when you've got a name, Crazy Bob, there's a history there.
There's
You've
a
earned
story.
that. Oh,
too good.
All right. Well, that was very. Oh,
wait for me. Wants to know what's in your mug.
In my
You're
glass.
saying
Well, it's empty now.
Uh-huh.
But
Sure it is.
it was mineral Vasa tonight.
Not mineral whiskey.
No, not mineral whiskey. Not tonight. That's for my after show.
Nice.
Personal show.
Keats 94 has been inspired to get into the drone sphere.
Hey, glad I could help you out.
Very cool.
Nice. And I don't see it. He also has a brand new episode of Keats 94's geocaching adventure. Goes live tomorrow at 10 a.m. Kimlona Wander. Is it Kimlona?
Kimola.
Kamola. I
Sure.
just finished the finishing touches on the video tonight.
There you go.
There you go. Thank you for finding it.
Nice.
Hey, folks, thanks so much for joining us. And until next week, get out and fly a drone in the Northwest.